Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Right? So we consider that discharge is a function of G minus A. Since it is not linear, we give it as a non-linear to the power of beta. And CR is the regression coefficients or rating curve constants. Now what I have to do, see, I have measured the discharge and I have measured the stage. So I know Q and G. From this graph, take the log between log Q is equal to beta log G minus A plus log CR. But how to find this A? A is either you can go to the site and find, or you just extrapolate it very nearer, because this distance is very nearer. You can extend this curve and find out what is the value of A. So you use that and then plot it in a natural log, or if you want to plot it in a log semi-log sheet also, then discharge should be in Q and G minus A, right? So once it is plotted, you will get the slope will give me the value of beta, and the intercept will give me the value of log CR, right? So you will get the values of this. So it is similar to what we did in infiltration curves, right? Hartran's infiltration curve. So here is an example which we did for a real life stage discharge relationship. Okay, this is what we have measured. The stage used from 21.95 meters to 25.9 meters. It is the discharge measured, and this is the discharge. Now first point is I have to develop a log G minus A. But A, when I extrapolate this A, right, it is 21.5 meters, right? So I use 21.5 meters. Then for each stage values, subtract 21.5, take log, then log of discharge. Plot a curve, okay? Right? This is that straight line, right? The slope has given me the beta, and where it intercept to the 0, give me the log CR, anti-log will give me the CR value. But when we visited the site and actually measured, actually it is not 21.5, it is 20.5. That means here also, like in at higher level highly nonlinear, at lower level also it is highly nonlinear. So when we use 20.5 here, the values are larger. So for a given stage, there should be a larger discharge. These are all very small values, but we have to be very careful in estimating this stage for zero discharge. Okay, so this is how we extrapolate the stage discharge relationship. And the second point, this stage discharge relationship holds good if the flow is undisturbed, right? That means there is no obstruct from the upstream side as well as in the downstream side. That's what we call it as virgin flow. The stream flow should be purely from runoff, right? Sometimes, but nowadays even the discharge which is released from the dam, that also will rise the stage and gives you the discharge. But when I am establishing a stage discharge relation, when I am establishing a rainfall runoff relationship, the discharge from the dam should be removed. Then only I will get a relationship between rainfall and runoff. Okay, and if there is any reservoir release or backwater effect, then we need site specific relationship, and the available rating curve need to be either extrapolated or modified accordingly, right? So this is a very good method, and even today's Central Water Commission in India has established several more than 800 900 discharge measuring stages. I request everyone to go to their website CWC IWRS, right? Integrated Water Resource website, CWC website, and see how many gauging sites in each river basin, right? So that will be a good exploration. So I will just right. CWC site for discharge measurements. Right, until 2 years back you can even download the stage discharge relationship, but now we have to write them to get that data. But it's a very rich data. Many river discharge estimations are based upon this CWC measured discharge. Unlike rainfall, right? Rainfall even any private people can also measure, but discharge in the rivers is measured purely by CWC, Central Water Commission, New Delhi. Okay, so this is about area velocity method. Then the second method, in area velocity itself we have seen two methods. One is simple, the second one is using moving boat method. Suppose if that cross section is varying or rapidly varying, or there are obstructions in the cross section, like the water flowing in a mountainous region, right? Then I cannot use this area velocity method. Here I use a technique called as dilution techniques. This dilution technique also there are two methods. One is constant injection rate method and second one is instant method. Right? What I am going to explain you is the constant injection method. Right? So this dilution technique depends upon the continuity principle applied to a chemical or a tracer which is allowed to mix completely with the flow. Even our common salt can also be used as a tracer, right? So in this method what we have to do? First you select a two sections, right? Section 1 and section 2 with the board also. So consider okay. So let us consider a stream. So consider two sections, section 1 and section 2. Okay. So this is the figure shows it is the bed of the stream. Right? Let this is at a distance of L. Right? So what happens before doing your experiment? First you measure what is the initial concentration. Let us say I am going to inject common salt. Then you measure what is the initial content of common salt at section 1 and section 2. Then you inject in a drum, from a drum, a constant, let C2 be the concentration of the salt drum which I am doing. So let us assume that Q, right, is the discharge in the river. Now I am placing a big drum and with a known concentration of C2 of my salt, right, I am putting it at section 1. So now what happens? This salt which is fall will start mixing with the water. At the section 2, you again pick up the water quality and let the concentration be C2. Okay. Now how many concentrations are there? C0, which is the initial concentration. Sorry, this is C1. The concentration which I am dumping the tracer, and C2 is the concentration at the third point. Right. Now let us apply the balance between section 1 and section 2. Now what is the total quantity of the concentration? Q, that is discharge in the river, and the salt content C0, plus what I am dumping, a known discharge. Qt is the discharge of the tracer and C1 is the high concentration of the tracer at section 1. So this Qt C1 plus Q C0. But what I have measured at the end, it is the discharge of the river as well as the tracer discharge multiplied by concentration at section 2. Now in this case the only unknown is Q. So bring the unknown Q at this point. Therefore Q is equal to Qt into C1 minus C2 by C2 minus C0. Suppose if C0 is 0, then it is C1 minus C2 by C2. Okay, this is very simple technique, very efficient method to measure the discharge in the mountainous regions, right? So I have given a problem. Please take your calculators and do this. Right? A 500 grams per liter tracer. So 500 grams per liter means it is the C1 was injected at a constant rate of 4 liters per second. So Qt is 4 liters per second. C1 is 500 grams per liter. At downstream length of the concentration, the tracer was measured as 4 ppm. That means C2 was 4 ppm. That is, ppm is parts per million. Initial tracer concentration was 0. That means C0 is 0. Estimate what is the stream discharge. I think some of the class they want what is meant by parts per million. ppm or into 10 power minus 6 is the pseudo unit that describes small values of miscellaneous quantities. It is very 1 part per million part, right? That is what million means 10 lakhs in India. Its value is 1 into 10 power minus 6. So it is 4 ppm is 4 into 10 power minus 6. And this compared with one drop of a liquid substance in a diluted 50 liters of water. Right? Other parts which are commonly used is ppb, parts per billion, then it is 10 power minus 9. PPT is not our PowerPoint presentation, it is parts per trillion. PPQ is parts per quadrillion. Okay, so this is just a knowledge to find out what is ppm. Now if you come to this problem, 500 grams per liter, how will you express this in ppm? 500 gram is how many parts in a liter, right? It is, yes. So Qt, take your notebook, Qt is 4 liters into C1 is 500 gram per liter is plus Q into C0 is 0, but doesn't mean the discharge is 0. You are balancing only the concentration. That means Q is equal to Qt into C1 minus C2 by C2. Okay, that is what the formula. Yes. So now substitute 500 Qt is 4 into 500 ppm, right? How much is that? Hmm? 500 into 10 power 3 minus C2 is again 4 into 10 power minus 6 divided by 4 into 10 power minus 6. 4 get cancelled, 10 power 6 gets cancelled. So it will be 496 or 500 liters per second. Okay, please do this problem, and next class we'll see it again. Okay, so this is how we use this parts per constant injection rate method of dilution technique, right? So this will be uh, oh, this is in liters divided by 1000. Okay, it will be 500 meter cube per second is the answer. Okay, so these are all some of the qualities which I can use as a tracer. The first one is the tracer should not be observed by the sediment, right? So that at C2 is underrepresented. Channel boundary as well as vegetations. It should not chemically react with any of the surfaces as well as water itself. It should be non-toxic, right? See, chemically reactable is different from solvable. See, salt will, when you mix a salt thoroughly, it still remains as the salt, but it is in a dissolved condition, right? And the tracer should be non-toxic, and it should be capable of being detected in a distinctive manner. That means even at small concentration, it should not be very expensive. And some of the chemicals, right, as I told, common salt, right, sodium chloride, sometimes sodium dichromate, then fluorescent, right? But nowadays we don't go. We stop only at common salt or sodium dichromate. Radioactive materials, these are all highly less concentrated. That means they are all non-radioactive or non-toxic to the human beings, right? Such chemicals are nowadays still we are used in groundwater hydrology to detect the groundwater availability. Okay, so this is the qualities and properties of the tracers. Okay, so up to this, the measurement. So up to this, the measurement of stream flow and runoff is, I am stopping at this point because there are several methods. I am not going into the details of each and every method. Right? I am giving you some introduction type of stream flow measurement. Right? The electromagnetic method and ultrasonic method can also be used. Okay. Right? So this is about measurement. The next one is developing a model or developing a relationship between a measured quantity and a discharges. For example, if I want to develop then that is called as hydrograph model. Suppose if I want to do a runoff model, then first I should understand what are all the components in the runoff. The water which we have seen at the outlet of the basin or at a measuring point comes from precipitation, no doubt. But this precipitation, to reach this runoff, it may take any one of the path in this four direction. The first one is the rain which has fallen on the channel itself. The second one is after all the losses, the water starts flowing over the land and it is the overland flow. And then the infiltrated water, right, will go to deep percolation, joins with the groundwater, and then comes as the base flow, then comes as the runoff. The only thing which doesn't reaches our runoff is abstractions. That is why we call this as loss. Or the infiltrated water will go as an interflow. Immediately it may join, that is called as rapid flow, or it may join delayed interflow. That means the relationship, the time relationship between precipitation and outlet discharge. Within the time period, this runoff is not joined. That is why it is called as base flow. So up to this point, they are all the water which is giving direct relationship between this precipitation and a runoff. Okay, then the overland flow goes into the channel, and this rapid flow also will join with the channel flow, and then it will come to the direct runoff. as surface flow. When I want to model, we have to take all these parameters into consideration. Right? Now, I have measured the discharge one day and developed a stage discharge relationship. What is the purpose? Then what happens after completing the stage discharge relationship? I measure the stage every day and marking a time series called as discharge time series or flow series. When I mark this flow series, it is for daily. That means every day morning 8:30 I go there and it is a meter cube per second. Suppose if I am continuously measuring the stage, that will give me a stage curve. From that stage curve, I can draw a graph called as hydrograph. Hydrograph is nothing but the relationship between discharge and time. Right? I have shown you how this rain stage is increasing and discharge is also increasing, and after the rain stops the discharge goes down and then comes to the original flow level or zero level. So this type of graph is called as hydrograph, that is relationship between time and a discharge. Next chapter we will see this, how to draw the hydrographs, right? And depending upon this time period, for how long I am drawing, I am considering the time step and the hydrograph. First one is flood hydrograph. We'll go from the bottom. Flood hydrograph means there is a heavy discharge, heavy rainfall in the basin, and after some time period, my water level, which is already going as a constant, starts rising, right? Starts rising, and after the farthest point from the basin also contributed, the discharge will continue if the rain also continues. If rain has stopped, the discharge reduces and reaches to the original discharge within not so short time period, very long time period. And such graph is called as flood hydrograph, right? We will see this flood hydrograph details in the next chapter. Right? Suppose if I uh, add all the discharges. See here, adding is nothing but lumping. For example, every day I am measuring it in meter cube per second. If I want to find out what is the daily discharge, then it is meter cube per day. Convert your second into day. For month, you estimate daily discharge, add for 30 days, or you take the average 8:30 p.m. 8:30 a.m. discharge, multiply it to daily and then to monthly. So converting, lumping the time series, we should be very careful. Okay. Then if I plot it with the annual time step, it is called as annual hydrographs, right? So each of these has particular application, like annual and seasonal, used to estimate the surface water potential, reservoir studies and drought studies, flood hydrographs, analyzing stream with the floods, right? So in annual runoff studies, it is advantageous to consider a water year. In water year means in India, it starts from June 1st to May 31st. That is onset of the monsoon in a current calendar year to the next year. It is also a irrigation year, also called as Fasili earlier, right? So depending upon the values of the discharge, a river can be classified into perennial, intermittent and ephemeral, right? Perennial river means I have discharge throughout the year. So sometimes it may be due to rainfall, or some period when there is no rainfall still flow is there, that is due to groundwater flow, or sometimes it is snow melt. Then such rivers are called as perennial river systems. And the second type of river system is nothing but intermittent stream. That means most of the river basin which we see here in our Mumbai region, Western Ghats, that means there will be a flow only during monsoon period, and during non-monsoon period the flow is zero. This is irrespective of the rainfall, whether there is a rain or not in the monsoon. Once runoff starts, it continues for the monsoon period. That is called as intermittent streams. And the streams, when there is a rainfall, there is a flow. Otherwise, there is no flow. Such streams are called as ephemeral streams. And it is also linked with groundwater also. In intermittent stream, there is no groundwater during summer period or non-monsoon periods. That means all the flow are very quick or delayed runoff. Whereas in ephemeral stream, no delayed runoff and no base flow. Okay, so I am stopping it here. Last stream. Then depending upon the groundwater coming in and going out. This one definition is with respect to the groundwater level. If the groundwater is contributing to the stream, then such streams are called as effluent streams. If the stream is contributing to the groundwater, then it is called as influent. So when I am a groundwater, if I am getting some water from the stream, so that is an inflow, influent. When I am giving it to that, my effluents are going to the streams. So these are all the different characteristics and types of streams depending upon the hydrograph. Okay, so I am stopping it here today. We'll continue the remaining part tomorrow or in the next class. Okay.